So to all my console players, you literally cannot see what I'm about to show you. My understanding is the RoadCraft Reclaim Expansion will come out this month. It's unvalidated, unverified, so please do not hold me to that. But I have been on the public test server testing all 7 new vehicles, kind of expanding on my previous video, 2 brand new maps, and a demolition system that I think will change how the game functions. What's up, everybody? I am F5 Dad, the 4am gaming historian, 45 years of gaming since 1980, and this week, a viewer in the comments of one of my RoadCraft videos did ask me to cover the public test server because they play on the console, and understandable, they can't get to it. So this one is for you and every other console player waiting on the expansion. Here's everything that's coming, and let's go. So let me go ahead and set the stage for everybody. Huge RoadCraft player. I got over 300 hours in the core game, an additional 21 hours in the public test server. RoadCraft is my go-to game when I just want to zone out or I want to relax. I don't have to worry about somebody always shoot me in the back. So this is going to be the second expansion. It is called Rebuild. The first expansion was called Reclaim. That expansion did include 2 new maps, additional vehicles. In fact, one of my favorite vehicles is what you call the bridge layer. Now, when you think about the second expansion, same concept, 2 new maps, multiple vehicles. In fact, there's 7 new vehicles. But the key difference is the fact that it's going to introduce mechanics that will change the gameplay or how the game is going to be played. So what I mean by that, it does include demolition. It does include ghost buildings where you got to find materials to rebuild a building. You're going to have watchtowers, and that's right, aka snow runners, what I'm going to say here. And I do think the new expansion is going to be worth it. But I do want to point out, as I kind of played through the expansion, not everything's going to be positive. I did run across some things I'm kind of, scratching my head on, but I am going to touch base on that throughout the video. And with that, let's go ahead and talk maps. So the new expansion does include 2 new maps, Autumn Collapse and Summer Drought. So Autumn Collapse is going to be a map where devastation has occurred across forests and your industrial sites. It is going to be the muddier, the greener of the 2 maps. It's basically RoadCraft at its most classic and what you've basically seen if you've played the core game, but I can tell you they did turn up the difficulty significantly when you compare it to the original maps. Now, Summer Drought is going to be your other map, and I did purposely avoid playing it for this video, as it is the most unique map of all of the previously seen maps in RoadCraft. There's no mud, there's no dense forests, and basically instead, you're going to be dealing with an extreme drought in a region in North Africa, and it is going to put your skills to the test, and it's just one of those maps that I think you need to experience on your own as a RoadCraft fan. So let's move from maps to the vehicles. And up first, I do have the Minuteman K370 Explorer. This is going to be another Scout, but with a very unique feature, as the entire identity built around this vehicle is going to be an active radar. That will be used to clear the fog of war that's typically seen on the map. You will use it to scan the terrain ahead of you so you can begin now mapping out your RoadCraft operations. On the expansion maps, which are going to be full of unstable zones and hidden content, this feature is not a gimmick, but rather a true lifesaver. If I was starting out a new map, from a gameplay perspective, I would first track down my initial home base, then deploy the K370 and begin to uncover as much as the map that I can, even before tackling any of my objectives or side routes, as planning will become 100% easier. The only downside I did see when it came to the vehicle is that you will need to keep an eye on your tokens, as it does require 1 token per scan, which could hinder your operations at start if you don't receive any tokens. Let's go from one Scout to the next Scout, but this time we got the heavy Scout, which is the Derry Longhorn 4520. So think of every frustrating moment you've had where your Scout just got stuck somewhere that your heavy trucks needed to go. The Derry Longhorn is going to be the answer to that problem. As stated, this is a heavy Scout, and the emphasis is on heavy. This guy's going to go where standard Scouts can't. It's going to handle terrain that would stop most vehicles cold. It can also be used to pull cargo, pull vehicles, and even flip them over if needed. And the way I think about it, any dual-purpose vehicle is going to earn a spot in my fleet. When it comes down to the 2 new maps included in the expansion, the terrain is brutal in a way that it's going to expose every weakness in your lighter Scouts. The Longhorn honestly does not have those weaknesses. Think of this as the same way I thought about the Mule T1 in the base game. Get it early, use it constantly, and you're going to thank yourself later. Although this is classified as a scout, you're going to have a fun time using this guy, as I easily dropped over an hour simply driving around and pulling off absurd stunts and tricks, and I can't wait to see some of the videos that people are going to put out there. It will glide over mud like it's ice, handle boulders like they're ramps, and water like you're a ducky boat in the Allegheny River. You can also use the winch to flip vehicles and also pull them around for no reason, as it is just pure fun. Did try to find something I didn't like about this vehicle, and I just kept coming up blank. So yes, I am going to rate this as my #1 vehicle of the expansion, simply because of the fun you're going to have. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about everyone's favorite vehicle in the new expansion, and I think that's going to be the Dragline Demolisher. Upon seeing this for my very first time, I would have ranked it as my #1 vehicle, but as I did play and get several hours under my belt, I am going to tone down my excitement around the vehicle. So the 511B does use a dragline boom to swing a demolition rig into unstable structures and bring them down. Legitimately thought it was kind of satisfying. Buildings just don't disappear, they do collapse and debris kind of flies. But what you need to understand when it comes to the vehicle, it is heavy. It's slow, and on the public test server, it handled exactly like you'd expect a machine that size to handle, which means they deliberately, not frustratingly, built it this way. So let's go ahead and talk about my actual thoughts on it. So from a gameplay perspective, and I might be on the unpopular side of the vehicle, but look, is it fun? Sure. Do I truly believe the vehicle is way overhyped? Yes. But honestly, after I smashed my 10th building for resources, I would simply rather just go buy them, or maybe even haul back resources and create them at one of my factories, as it did take way less time just simply doing that. Also, I think this could be why I didn't enjoy it as much, was because the resources I got from demolishing the building was pretty lackluster. I mean, I would smash the building, I would get 3 concrete slabs. I would have easily bet my paycheck the Dragline would have been my #1 vehicle, but after several hours of play, it is fun. It does help change the core mechanic of the game, but in the end, I just simply, shrug my shoulders like, okay, give me my Longhorn Heavy Scout again. So once the Dragline Demolisher does actually come out, I am super curious to see how other players feel as they begin to use it. And up next, we do have the Hollander M7 cable layer. And is this just another cable layer vehicle that we've already seen, or is it something different? So the truck is used to lay utility cables for infrastructure restoration missions and used to bring the much-needed life that your disaster areas truly need to power up those much-used factories for resources and other items. So here's my take. The Hollander M7 is actually different because it's fast, and when actually laying down cable, the mechanism used is super skinny. So when you activate the current cable layers, it spreads the back part of the vehicle like it has wings, and you've basically been given the order for takeoff, whereas the Hollander M7 simply drops its digger and then begins laying the cable, and honestly, it is so much more maneuverability when you compare it to the originals. And although this doesn't truly change anything about the core mechanic of the game, it does make laying the cable much more satisfying, faster, and it is going to be one of these vehicles that I am going to use consistently, and I will easily give this 2 thumbs up. So my next 2 vehicles I'm going to simply group together as they fall under the Wayfarer OFT96. One is a dump truck variant and the other is a cargo truck variant. I'm going to be simply straight with everybody. These are not headline vehicles. They're basically going to be your workhorses. When I initially tested the dump truck variant, I was extremely disappointed, as I knew that there was something off when it came to the amount of sand you could carry, but I am happy to report that a patch was issued and it did update the dump truck, and I was able to test it successfully. In fact, I did build a road on the current map. That took me, using the new dump truck, about 1.5 loads. After building a double road using the other heavy dump truck that we already have, I think that did take me about 4 to 5 loads to finish the same road. So I think you will be impressed with what you see when it comes to the new dump truck variant. When I think about the cargo truck variant, do I like it? Yes, as you will be able to haul around a ton more resources. But the one thing I did not like is that thing is top heavy, meaning if you go around a turn too fast, you are going to roll that thing over, especially if you have an empty cargo bed. I easily rolled this truck 7 to 10 times, and that was with and without cargo. Although I did find the truck very top heavy and frustrating, it is very possible they could patch this prior to the expansion release, but as of right now, I have not heard of a patch fixing this, so I will caution everybody once you get your hands on it. So when I think about the niche type vehicles up next, I do have the Torque G175 Tree Crusher. I am going to be straight up honest with everybody. I didn't think I needed this vehicle until I truly drove it. This guy is a beast. It's a tank. It's whatever you want to call it. But the Tree Crusher does exactly one thing. It does eat trees. In the base game, trees were just permanent no-go zones. With the G175, you just point it at the forest and you're going to drive right through it. New paths are going to open up that didn't exist before on both the new maps, and my understanding, it is also going to work in the existing ones. Now you're going to be creating your own terrain, and the stumps that it would leave behind no longer is that they actually cleaned that up in the patches. Now, the one thing I did find myself scratching my head on was I thought it was fantastic that they added a tree crusher, but then at the same time, they added additional trees that the tree crusher can't actually crush. So I'm not sure if that was done on purpose or maybe an oversight, but either way, what I can say about this guy, this will become a permanent part of my fleet rotation, and I have a high suspicion it's also going to be on yours too. Let's talk about the new mechanics, as I want to give each one its proper due because they don't all have equal impact. So Ghost Buildings is more of a quality of life change. As you explore the map, you're going to run across buildings that are transparent or basically a preview of the finished structure. You're going to know exactly where it lands, how it connects, and how many resources it takes to rebuild it. When I think about the core game, it already has you bring in resources to get a building up and running. So the only difference is now you're going to have a preview of what it looks like, and honestly, I think this should have been included at launch. Now, the demolition of a building is one of the core changes that will make a difference. As you explore the map, you will come across buildings on the new maps flagged as abandoned, and once demolished, you will also get resources back. The only problem that I have is as I began to destroy buildings, I noticed that I was only getting back 3 cement slabs, and I hope this gets fixed prior to release. And a fun fact, once you tear down the building, you will need to reclaim the resources, and guess what? That is where the expansion does get its name from. Another core game changer is the ability to clear trees with the Torque G175, which I already touched base on, but I did enjoy the mechanic as it does sound, and it is simple, but it will change how you go about planning on a new map as it does open up new ways for exploration. We also have communication towers, or what I like to call SnowRunner watchtowers, as both are going to give you full vision of a near zone. The key difference is that in RoadCraft, these are hidden objectives that you're going to come across as you begin to explore the map, whereas SnowRunner are going to have these on the map by default. So I did want to do something fun, and I'm going to rank each vehicle based on the play that I've had within the public test server. My number one choice does go to the Derry Longhorn. You're going to use this guy for everything, including exploration, pulling and flipping over vehicles, and just having simple, chaotic fun. And honestly, this is where I found myself having the most fun when it came to all of the vehicles. Number 2 is going to go out to the Torque G175 Tree Crusher. Yes, the vehicle is slow and it is cumbersome, but from a gameplay mechanic, it will be used to create new paths and simply overhaul the entire map pending where and how for all of your planning requests. Number 3 is going to be the 511B Dragline Demolisher, as you will use this to demolish buildings, collect resources, and allow identified ghost buildings to build back up. The mechanic is fun, but I think it's going to fade off pretty quickly. Number 4 is the Hollander M7 cable layer, and yes, I do love this little guy, and honestly, once you use it, I'm not sure why you would ever go back to the other cable layers, as the maneuverability and quickness this guy provides is top-notch. Number 5 is going to go out to the Minuteman K370 Explorer, and the ability this guy provides to use the radar to begin unlocking the map so you can determine where you need to go, and it is a key critical aspect in map completion. I just do caution, watch your tokens as you're going to chew through them if you're not careful. Number 6 is going to be the Wayfarer dump truck. And look, what can I say? It's a dump truck, but the capacity is going to be greater than all of your other dump trucks. But do take caution, as I did find myself getting stuck very easily and tipping over. And pulling up the rear is going to be the Wayfarer cargo truck. And yes, it does offer more capacity, but my God, this thing is top heavy. And there's a good chance you're going to tip this guy over multiple times. So take caution, as I almost rage quit after a full load tipping over and the need to reload it. And this not only happened once, it did happen several times as I played through the map. Do I think the new expansion is going to be worth it? Well, what I can tell you is after 45 years of buying expansions and being burned probably at least 50% of the time, yes, I do think the Reclaim expansion is going to be the real deal. It does offer up 2 maps that feel pretty different from each other, and pretty much anything that you've experienced in the original game. It does offer up 7 additional new vehicles that honestly have a reason to exist, and to me, that is going to be a good expansion. My one caveat to all of this, though, if you haven't finished the base game, don't jump into this yet. The base game is going to be worth every minute, and unfortunately, I do not have an ETA of the release date because I've been checking day after day and I have not seen anything. But the one thing I can promise is that I will do a full review of the expansion upon release. So absolutely stay tuned. And I hope everybody is just as excited as I am when this does release. I do want to thank everybody who's made it this far into the video. Do me a favor, click subscribe, ring the bell. That way you know when the full review does drop. And at the same time, down in the comments, tell me which vehicles you're most excited about. To me, I think everybody's going to be surprised about the Tree Crusher along with the Derry Longhorn. And with that, everybody, click F5, reset, reload. I'm F5 Dad, and I will see you on the next video.